Churches are empty. Because of the coronavirus, churches all over the country have been forced to close. Many are doing the best that they can, offering streaming services for their worshipers to watch, but other, smaller churches are struggling. Many of these churches are already underfunded and wondering how they're going to bounce back. For the rest of us, life has been changing. We're told that we need to self-isolate, that we need to practice social distancing. Those who can are encouraged to work from home. Others, however, need to go to work, and they don't know what they're going to do with their children who are now going to be home from school for the foreseeable future. Others of us need to go to work so that we can feed our children, but there's no work to go to. It's a scary and challenging time. And the scariest part about it is that we don't know when it's going to end. I hear Christians talk about it and ask, are we going to have Easter this year? And if so, what will it look like? It calls to mind the words of Psalm 77. Will the Lord reject forever? Will he never show his favor again? Has his unfailing love vanished forever? Has his promise failed for all time? Has God forgotten to be merciful? Has he, in anger, withheld his compassion? So many of us right now are feeling those words. We're feeling rejected. We're feeling forsaken. But I wonder to myself if the psalmist is really the one that we should be identifying with. Because right now, we're in the season of Lent. Lent is inspired by the fast that Jesus experienced when he isolated himself for 40 days in the wilderness. And each year, we have the opportunity to accept Jesus' invitation to join him in that wilderness. Mark 6, starting in verse 30, says, the apostles were gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. Jesus said this to his disciples because he knew that they needed rest. And so do you. For some, this period of self-isolation and social distancing is the first time that we've really stopped in a while. Not because we want to, but because we have to. And in doing so, we've come to realize we desperately need to. Isaiah 58, starting at verse 3, says, why have we fasted, they say, and you have not seen it? Why have we humbled ourselves, and you have not noticed? Yet on the day of your fasting, you do as you please, and exploit all your workers. Your fasting ends in quarreling and strife, and in striking each other with wicked fists. You cannot fast as you do today, and expect your voice to be heard on high. Lent is supposed to be a time of self-denial, of self-sacrifice. But our stores are barren, as panicked people hoard things for themselves, not even once thinking about the needs of others. If we're honest, some of our brothers and sisters in faith might even be part of that group. Now, a lot of us have given up things for Lent, such as chocolate or sugar. I myself once gave up soda. Another time I gave up French fries. But let me ask, do you really think that that is the kind of sacrifice that God is calling us to? Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen, to loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and to break every yoke? Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood. Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear. All of that is just a fancy way of saying that what God wants is for us to prioritize the vulnerable. And that's why we're doing this. That's why we're self-isolating. It's why we're practicing social distancing, to protect the most vulnerable among us. The message of the coronavirus is the message of Lent itself. a true fast. Already we have seen inspiring stories of community outreach programs and businesses stepping up to stand the gap, trying to help some of the fallout from this, providing educational materials or meals to children. Our own church is going to continue its mission to provide meals on Thursday nights and Sunday mornings. We're just going to be doing a drive-through style. Together, we are going to get through this. Just, not together. The truth is, churches have been empty for a while. A 2018 study by Gallup revealed that only 50% of Americans identify themselves as churchgoers. This is a shocking 70% decline from the last 20 years. Church attendance has been declining for a while. And we've had a lot of debates over why that is and what there is to do about it. But the reality is that this virus has forced the church into action. It's forced the church outside of its comfort zone. It's forced the church to become innovative and creative and find new ways to accomplish the work of ministry. We all want life to go back to normal. But my hope, my prayer, my challenge is that once this passes, and it will, that things never go back to normal. That we never again settle for the comfortable slog of the status quo. That the hunger that we have cultivated during this time of fasting will go on, and that we're going to continue to innovate, that we're going to continue to find ways of reaching people who would have otherwise never darkened our doors, and that for those of us coming back to church, that we will never again take our church and our ability to be there for granted. Now, more than ever, Paul's words in Colossians chapter 2, verse 5 come alive. For though I am absent from you in body, I am present with you in spirit. Paul wrote these words in prison. Now, whether your time of self-isolation is a prison or not, well, that's up to you. It could be a prison, or it could be a chrysalis, a cocoon, to prepare you for your next stage. I know that right now, hope is in short supply, and it feels like the devil is winning. But we know from Romans chapter 8, verse 28, that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him, who are called according to His purpose. God can work through all circumstances, and He will work through this. If you use this time as a true fast, to search inward, to look upward, to accept Jesus' invitation to meet with Him in a quiet, desolate place, and to transform the hunger that you have for everything that you have lost into a hunger for Him, then come Easter Sunday, He is going to fill the church. And He's going to do that whether we are back in our buildings or not, because the building isn't the church. You are.